You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Less than a week after his appointment, Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro has spoken up on critical issues faced by the National Defense Department. He bared the first marching order he received from President Bongbong Marcos fix the country's military pension system. He allayed concerns on the possible mass early retirement of soldiers and uniformed personnel after the government introduced reforms to the pension scheme. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro. Secretary, thank you for the interview. I've been watching you. You've given so many interviews, press conferences. Thanks for taking time out to speak to us, sir.
Thank you also for the opportunity, Pinky, and a pleasant good morning to you and to all the televiewers.
Sir, let's start with Mayon Volcano. I just spoke to Governor Grex. I think you heard parts of our conversation. What are you planning to do to support or to even help?
Well, as of this time, the OCD is busy already assembling its teams in order to provide support to Governor Lagman with whatever he may need. As we heard, the marching orders of the President is that we stand ready to support whatever relief and other efforts that the local government requires. And so after this, we shall meet in the OCD, and I just want to check that the logistics that will be required in case of any eventuality are set in place, and preparations also on our end to augment and support the local government are set.
Good to hear, Secretary. Let's talk about other issues. MUP. I know this has been asked a number of times, and you've also bared that the President has asked you to prioritize the pension fund of the military and uniformed personnel, as there are fears of and concerns due to its possible depletion in 5 to 6 years. In earlier interviews, you mentioned kailangan po ng self-sustaining pension scheme, but you cautioned this needs time, and you need to find ways to build up the funds and even raise the sources. For now, how do you envision doing this?
Well, firstly, we have to take care, naturally, of those who have retired and make sure that the contract with them, which is not merely a contract but a blood compact, is met. And they serve their careers throughout. And so it would be inequitable and unjustifiable to change their circumstances, particularly when they are already of advanced age. Secondly, there is no disagreement that for entry-level officers, we need to change the pension scheme in order to cut the hemorrhage on the bottom end. That being said, the pension scheme for entry-level officers is a side issue because the military, with its pay scale, with its skills upgrading and training, with the non-monetary benefits, still remains a very attractive career option for a lot of our young people. Now, the remaining issues to be tackled are those in the active service.
Yeah.
And that I will have to talk to the team that is going around as to the result of their consultations. On the other side is the loading or the financing slide. We have a lot of potential sources of capital to load in. However, that being said, it is a truism which we really cannot ignore, that the fund, if loaded with capital, can't be drawn on in the first few years. The government must continue, to my mind, on a diminishing rate to fund the pension scheme. So rather than cut the hemorrhage, maybe the expectation will be to reduce the hemorrhaging to a manageable level.
Which is what?
The specifics I do not have yet, because I still have to talk to the economic team. But to reduce it annually, perhaps, based on those that still avail, into a level which will be comfortable, and we can devote the funds to other means.
Yeah. You know, the thing really is I guess the question is how to actually avert a fiscal collapse due to the high pension cost of retirees. So to you it is clear, for those who have retired, nothing changes.
I think to change their situation would be to breach the contract we had with them. Simply put, which is
Yeah.
not merely a contract but a blood compact.
Okay, understood. What about the possibility of giving contributions?
Well, that is definitely on the table, and we will have to complete our consultations as to who will contribute,
Okay.
how and how much, and what level. No? Sometimes this there is willingness to contribute, but we'll have to determine the fairness of who will contribute and how much.
Understood.
Based, Pinky, based on the qualitative fact. No, there's no other term to use but qualitative fact of the risk to life and limb that our men and women in uniform face daily. And the risk that they took, even on the first day of basic training, they already risked their lives and limb.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that continues throughout their career.
I just want to bring this in very quickly. There was something I read. It was from the GSIS president, Wick Velosa. He was saying, why not replicate the current premium contribution of state workers, basically to align it with the rate payable by GSIS members and employees of 9 to 12% of the actual monthly salary of the contributing member. Is this something you are open to looking into?
All suggestions we will give due weight and regard. However, I also have to make sure that this will not affect the career track of our officers and the security of their families. Because what is also unique in the armed services is the displacement of families, and this entails they entail additional costs because their places of deployment are distant from their families. So basically, they have expenses on two fronts. So this we have to take into account.
Secretary Teodoro wants to reform the DND, obviously also to modernize the AFP, and how do we deal with aggression in the West Philippine Sea? We need to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro. Sir, you were also saying that the DND needs to be reformed. When that is said, that will obviously mean a budget for capital outlay, budget also for hiring employees. What needs to be done at the soonest possible time to reform the DND, sir?
We need a new law to recreate a new Department of National Defense to encompass, in general terms, the evolving definitions of national security. Not merely the current employee of the DND to stakeholder ratio, which is very, very low, to put it very politely, but also to create an evolving structure where skill sets can be developed. We can grow our own capabilities in order to better serve the 5 agencies under us and serve the national interest for the future. The basic job of the department is really to assist the 5 agencies, the largest being the armed forces, in procurements, contracting, strategic assessments, program management, resource management, and organizational development from a management perspective. And of course, to take care of the veterans, to take care of the Veterans Memorial Medical Center. Now, it is public knowledge we only have about 320 plantilla positions, or 330, and the fill rate is quite low because of the unattractive salaries. Now, we have created a new Department of Migrant Workers. We have reformed the BSP because of the special skill sets required. National security is really important, and we have to invest equally into the skill sets of the managerial agency, aside from the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines. Secondly, also, in order to shore up our capabilities, naturally, the, our country's willingness to participate as a nation in deterring aggression, in civil defense, has to be strengthened. And here comes the participation of the citizenry through the reserve force development and through civil defense groups.
The president was quoted as saying in the past that we will not lose an inch of our territory in accordance with our Constitution and international law. This has been talked about over and over again. Well, there have been, I guess, too many instances, Secretary of harassment on our fishermen, Coast Guard, Navy even supplying resources doon po sa ating BRP Sierra Madre. Is there anything you're seeing? I mean, all these years, you've been watching the news, reading the news, any different approach that we might employ in approaching and dealing with China?
On my end, it's not only dealing with China, but dealing with any other political eventuality which may affect our territorial integrity. That is as fast and as sustainably as possible to build up a credible deterrent force. And that deterrent force, the credible and capable deterrent, is not merely military equipment and machinery, but the general willingness of each and every citizen to stand up and put their sweat, their effort, and their spirit into defending the country. Because there's a well-known formula of the elements of national power. You have your economy, you have your military, you have your infrastructure, and one of these elements is the willingness to stand up and fight for your country. If that is zero, then all the elements are zero. And I think that is something that we have to drill into the minds of our people. And this is not necessarily militarizing them, because civil defense is equally important as national defense. Mm-hmm. So building up this credible deterrent is the number one task in order to prevent not merely, as you said, China, but who knows, in 30 years or 20 years, there may be other problems that will arise that will need us to use our deterrent capabilities in order to defend our territory.
Yeah, but when you talk about a capable deterrent, who is that? Is that government? Is that where does it begin? Does it begin with government? Does it begin with the Filipino people?
Sorry, Pikia. Sorry for cutting you. I'm sorry. Please continue.
No, it's okay, sir. Nagkakaroon ho talaga tayo ng delay. Yung sinasabi niyo pong capable deterrent, where does it start? Does it start with you? Does it start with the president? Does it start with government? Does it start with the people?
Naturally, ang unang public image ng deterrent is your military capability to deter. No? But secondly, also, there is also a testing of the willingness of a citizen to stand up and fight. The speed by which the citizenry can mobilize, no? In an organized and well-led manner, mm-hmm. to respond to any emergency. Mm-hmm. I think this is what our people should learn. We practice this in several ways. Yesterday there was an earthquake drill. We practice it, and depending on the situation, people not only need to be led, but have to know how to be led. Mm. So yesterday, in the earthquake drill, for example, there was an undersecretary who told all of us what to do, and we followed, me included. So, okay. So it is also developing the spirit
and the mindset
of the Philippines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only to make the requisite financial contribution, but the personal contribution. And I guess a big part of my job is also to help all other agencies of the government, with the Vice President, with the DEX, to heed the CHED, the Department of Labor, to heed the call of the President to help build up this country's integrity.
All right,
my,
just
my,
very
my
quickly.
communication tools perhaps can be used to this effect.
Secretary, I hope you don't mind. I just want to put this in. I have few seconds left. These Philippines, U.S., and Japan held our first ever joint Coast Guard exercises recently. Should more of these happen?
Well, I think for interoperability purposes, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, the principal mandate also of the Coast Guard is also to help in maritime safety and security. So it's not merely a geopolitical or a political move, but it is also an operational move, no? So I encourage it. There's no problem, and these are sea lines of communication or sea lanes of communication. There should not be any dispute about the ability of countries to transit these waters.
Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro, sir, I wish to speak to you again at another time. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Certainly, Pinky. Thank you very much.
And good luck, sir.
To all.
And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.